Hey guys, if you're a longtime subscriber to Party TV, one thing you should know is that I'm not a big fan of Spidey and his amazing friends, at all. To this day, I consider it to be the worst Disney Junior show ever made. The episodes are painfully formulaic. Peter, Gwen, and Miles in this show are the most boring Mary Sue protagonists I've ever seen, and the whole show just feels like a desperate attempt to be like PJ Masks, without understanding what makes that show so special. The only things I like about it is the catchy theme song, and of course, Black Cat. She is an absolute treasure, and she deserves to be in a better show. #Justice for Black Cat. But you already know these things, since I talked about the show many times. What you probably don't know is that the show was unfortunately really successful. It has a popular toy line, it got renewed for a 5th season, and the 4th one hasn't even come out yet, and of course, it's getting a spin-off called Iron Man and His Awesome Friends. When I heard this news, I thought it was a joke. Seriously, I couldn't believe my eyes and ears. I even pinched myself to see if I was dreaming. But no, it's real. Between this, and all those soulless live-action remakes, it's clear that Disney is creatively bankrupt. Like, do you guys not have any new ideas? At all? What is going on over there? As much as I hate Rubble and Crew, I can give it this. At least it makes sense why it exists. Paw Patrol has been a popular franchise for more than a decade, so having a spin-off makes sense. That pretty much goes for most spin-offs. Planet Sheen, The Cleveland Show, you name it. As bad as they often are, the franchises they came from are really popular even to this day, so you can at least see where they're coming from. But Spidey, it's not even that old. And is it really that popular? Seriously, what is wrong with these executives? I have nothing against them personally, but what is wrong with them? If they want to make another Marvel preschool show, that's fine, but having it be a direct spin-off of Spidey, and giving it almost the same name. We could make fun of this all we want, but today, I want to try something different. Instead of expressing my incredibly low expectations for this show, I'm gonna pitch my own version of it. Think of it like a rewrite. I know the show hasn't even come out yet, and it's way too early to make judgments, but come on, is anyone really expecting this to be good? Like, anybody. I'm sure kids will go crazy for it, but as a critic, no. Anyways, let's get into Iron Man and His Awesome Friends, and how I would make it. Without further ado, let's begin. First, let's start with the basics. We're gonna completely drop the name. Iron Man and His Awesome Friends. No. It's stupid, and it sounds too much like Spidey. Instead, the show will be called, The Adventures of Young Iron Man. Sure, it's not anything special, but it's simple and straightforward, and that's all it needs to be. The show will center around a young Tony Stark, along with his 2 best friends, Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, and Amadeus Cho, aka Iron Hulk. Together, they protect the city, and work to make the world a better place. I'll keep this premise mostly the same, but here's where I would change things. The show would be 2D animated. Because 1, Disney Junior has more than enough 3D shows in their lineup, and 2D would be better for capturing that comic book style that Marvel is known for. Heck, if you wanna be really creative, you could blend 2D and 3D elements, just like Spider-Verse. Now, we obviously don't have the same budget as Spider-Verse, but we could at least try. Wait a minute, I just realized something. Since this show follows Tony Stark as a kid, should we even call him Iron Man? I mean, in Spidey, they don't call Peter Spider-Man, they call him Spidey. So what do we call Tony? Irony. I dunno. Now, let's talk about the characters. Starting with the main hero, Tony Stark. In my version, Tony is an arrogant, witty, and carefree kid genius. Kind of like the real Iron Man. See Disney Junior. This is what we call personality. Something you don't give your main characters for some reason. Not every preschool show protagonist has to be super nice and perfect all the time. I know you want them to be good role models for children, but they also need to have a darn character, and flaws too. Tony's arrogance can be his biggest flaw. He could constantly brag to people about his intelligence, look down on others who aren't as good as him, and it could cause problems for everyone. With that being said, he's not a bad kid. He's still a nice person who'd do anything to help people in need, especially his family, but he just overestimates himself. I get that having a main character like that could lead to bad influences, but he's the kind of character that kids can learn from. Kids don't just need to see perfect behavior, they need to see mistakes, consequences, and growth. Tony's arrogance makes him human, and watching him learn from his mistakes. That's how kids actually learn too. That's what makes a strong protagonist, someone who reflects real experiences and teaches through action, not just preaching. Now let's talk about Riri. This character gets a lot of hate from Marvel fans, so let's see if we can make her more likable while keeping her personality intact. Originally, people thought that Riri would be a replacement for Iron Man. So why don't we make them rivals? They're still friends, of course, but when they're not fighting crime, they could be always trying to one-up each other, especially during science fairs. Not only that, Riri could have an extreme temper, often lashing out on people, even if they don't deserve it. Riri is also a super genius, but she can be rather pushy to people who aren't as good as her, kind of like Tony, but a bit more harsh. Almost to the point where other kids see her as a bully and don't want to be around her. Okay, so far this character seems a bit unlikable, especially for preschool shows, but there are two ways we can make it work. 1. Give her an understandable reason for why she acts this way, and 2. Give her redeeming qualities. We could have it to where she was raised by a super strict family who doesn't accept failure. Don't worry, I won't have her parents be super abusive or any of that, this is still a kid show after all. Her parents do love her, they just have incredibly high expectations, and that pressure shaped how she treats others. This leads to some redeeming qualities to Riri's character. Whenever she lashes out on someone or teases them, she's not doing it for the sake of being mean, she's just trying to help them get better. Kind of like Gordon Ramsay. He can be harsh, but at the end of the day, he's trying to help the contestants improve. Over time, Riri learns that not everyone works the same way she does. She starts to soften, becomes more patient, and realizes that encouragement can be just as powerful as criticism. That's real character development, baby. And now, let's talk about Amadeus. Since he's the Iron Hulk, let's make him the gentle giant of the group. He loves animals, and he cares deeply about the environment. He could also be a bit of a pacifist. He'd rather use his super strength to help people than use it on the villains. In fact, sometimes, he actually tries to reason with the villains to get on their good side. Kind of like Steven from Steven Universe, but unlike in that show, not everyone is willing to listen. Tony and Riri might tease him for being too soft, but Amadeus doesn't let it get to him. If anything, he tries to teach them to slow down and be less aggressive, especially Riri, who could really use that influence. At the same time, Amadeus isn't perfect. He's a bit clumsy, especially when they're first starting out as heroes. His heart's in the right place, but he tends to accidentally break or damage things with his strength, leading to people pushing him away. His arc would focus on learning to control his power and growing confident in his own approach. He eventually realizes that while you can't always talk your way out of a fight, that doesn't make kindness or empathy any less powerful. And in the right moments, they can be his greatest strengths. Now that we have our main characters, let's get into some potential villains. Now, there's not that much information on the show yet, so we don't know who the villains will be, so let's just pull in some random villains from the comics and see what we can do. Let's start with Blizzard. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, so I don't know that much about some of these villains, so I'll just tell you my own interpretation of the character. Judging by his name, his power could be to freeze things, and that's pretty much it. Now how can we make him interesting? I got it. Remember how Tony and Riri are always looking down on people who aren't as smart as them? Well, Blizzard could be one of those people. He could always try to be a popular scientist, but he's just not that good at it. On top of that, other bullies constantly pick on him. So one day, he builds a high-tech ice suit, not to take over the world, but to finally prove he's worth something. Unfortunately, that desperation turns into revenge. And later in the show, Tony and Riri would feel bad for teasing him, and try to get him to forgive them, leading to a redemption arc where he learns that he doesn't have to hurt others to prove he's worth anything. Now, let's talk about Kala. Kala is the ruler of an unknown place called the Netherworld. But soon, she realizes that ruling one planet isn't enough. She wants to rule over Earth too. Yeah, Kala doesn't really need as much depth as the other characters. She could just be a silly Saturday morning cartoon villain. What would make her hilarious though, is if she's super awkward. Like, every time she captures one of the heroes, she tries to make a dramatic villain speech, and totally fumbles it. She'll throw out a lame pun or corny one-liner, and the hero just stares at her like, seriously. Also, she could have these goth minions who couldn't care less about her evil schemes, they just want their paychecks. That could be really funny. Well, that does it for the characters. Now how would the story play out? Well, the show won't have a big, overarching story like you probably thought. Sure, it'll have arcs where the characters become better people, but the show will mostly just be episodic. Shows like PJ Masks and Sophia the First don't have overarching storylines for the most part, but the characters still develop and go through changes. And that's my take on Iron Man and his awesome friends. Now, will the real show be anything like my version? No, I genuinely doubt it. If the show turns out anything like this, it'd be the shock of the century. But yeah, my expectations for this show are astronomically low. I'm still gonna give it a chance when it comes out though. Who knows? Maybe it'll be good. It could fix the things I didn't like about the original Spidey. But considering Disney Junior's track record, I doubt it'll be anything more than a cheap cash grab. But hey, let me know if you want me to do more rewrites of preschool shows, cause this was actually a lot of fun to do. Maybe I'll even do a series of these. Anyways, that's it for this video. And until next time, party on.